Hey guys, I'm going live again. If you were tuned into the previous stream, it was really fuzzy, so I'm gonna see if this one's any better. I just got to open up the YouTube link here so I can take a look at it myself to see if I'm as fuzzy as I was last time. Hopefully not. 3, 2, 1. Let me see here. Come on. Okay, good. Looks good. Looks good on my end. Thank God. See, that's what restarting the computer does for you, right? That's all you need to do. That's how you fix everything. Just restart it. Back in the day when I used to play video games when I was a really little kid and the game didn't work, you blow in it, you blow in the cartridge or the TV or the cassette player's not working, you just kind of smash it a few times. Like this is like that version. I guess it's less brutal, less physical use, but still, just restart it. I don't know anything about computers whatsoever. Like, even though I'm a millennial, I didn't have a computer until I was like 18 or 19 years old in the household. So for school, that was a real dilemma. That's why I didn't do a lot of my homework, because I was just like, I'm not going to the library to go and write things at the fucking library. Screw that. Like, I'm just going to stay home and play video games or something, right? It's okay, good. It's much better. Hey, Trish. Hey, the plebs. Hey, Faye Knox. How's it going? AR, welcome back. Hey, Big Blue. Comment ça va? Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for returning and being patient and waiting with me there. I appreciate that. But yeah, I was going to talk about these based immigrants that I saw in a couple articles that I read today and the other day. There's one from the Vancouver Sun as well as another one from the Star, where they're trying to insert somebody else in there that kind of like counters what these immigrants, these nationalist immigrants, are saying. And it's an interesting read. I thought I'd read it with you guys, take you through a little bit, maybe interact with the chat a little bit. But like I was saying before in my other stream, if you didn't catch it, I'm no longer doing the Canadian Roundtable anymore. It's mostly just going to be probably solo streams. I don't think I'm going to do streams with anybody other than people inviting me on their channel or something, or I invite somebody else on my channel to do a stream. But I didn't really like the schedule. I'm not a big schedule person. I don't like to, it's like 8:30 and sometimes I'm like, I just get off work late or I'm tired. I'm like, I don't want to do fucking stream right now. I'm much better, I think, or I prefer to just do it randomly, when I got energy to do a stream. Like right now, I got off work, took a shower, had some energy. So I'm like, okay, I wanted to talk about a few things. And I tried making a video about it, but it was just going way too long. And I'm like, this would just be better in a stream, reading this thing. Let's see the chat here. Hey, Raisin Sack. How's it going, buddy? Everybody hit the like button, share, all that good stuff. Everything, all that stuff helps a lot. But I got a few other things I guess I could show you guys too that are just kind of funny or interesting. And if you guys got anything you want me to address, just leave me a comment in the chat and then I'll address it or whatnot. Or if you want me to address a topic or something like that, that'd be good, because lots of things happen. It's hard to keep track of everything, and sometimes I do want to talk about something, but like I said, so many things happen you forget about it. You're like, damn it, I wanted to talk about that, but then 15 other things happened, and then 2 days go by and you're like, fuck it, it's done. I don't even want to address it anymore. It's over. But to get some better lighting, dude. Yeah, no, I got to get some better lighting. I could turn on the lighting on top, I guess. It might help a little bit. But thank you for the advice. I appreciate that. That's I want advice. I want people to give me constructive criticism and stuff to help make the streams better and stuff, right? And there's lots of things I could do better, improve on. So if anybody has any other suggestions and stuff like that, let me know, or any topics you want me to cover. Like I said, so much things happen that it's hard to like pick stuff. Some of the videos I make, I'm just kind of like, there's so many topics. I'm like, okay, I'll just fuck it up. I'll talk about this. But then I'm not addressing all these other things that I could be addressing that are also important, or maybe people would find more, pertinent. 65 million in Canada by 2100. You hear about this, AJ? I thought they were going to try to bring in 100 million immigrants by 2100, but 65 million, that's too much. 100 million, that's too much. Hey, Dino. Hey, son of Rambo. Hey, John. Robert, how's it going? DJ. And who else just showed up? Hey, Main Liberty, how's it going? I think your show was awesome. Well, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. A strobe light, yeah, that would probably improve it a little bit. I think that'd be pretty cool. 10 immigrants is too much, right? You know what I mean? It's like what is enough? What is too much? Hey, Doug, how's it going, buddy? Yep, 109 century initiatives. Yeah, right. There's that century club that comes out, and they're like, we're gonna boost the population to 100 million. It sounds straight out of some like George Soros, some Rockefeller, 1984 thing. But they're just so open about it now. It's like, yeah, we're gonna replace you. That's the thing, the left, if they can't convince you, then they're gonna replace you with somebody else, with a different group of people that's gonna be that is going to listen to them, that will like their policies, right? Let's talk about sovereignty. All right. Well, I agree with sovereignty, right? I think we should be sovereign. We should have control over our countries and our land. Just Ducky. It's an invasion of the bad guys good immigrants were running from. Right. Yeah. That's pretty much what this article is all about. This one from the Star here. This guy who's a PPC member, or I think he was a National Citizens Alliance member. And he was saying, he's like, I don't want to speak to Indians on the phone because I left India for a reason. He's like, I don't want to hear people that sound like me when I go and call a fucking directory or something like that, right? He's like, I left Punjabi and now it's coming back to Canada. He's like, this is ridiculous. Wexit or else. Aspiring immigrant from Ireland, Canadian government making me jump through hoops to get in, but Mississauga is loaded. Well, maybe you shouldn't come to Canada, Mark. Maybe it's, I don't know, but Ireland's pretty fucked too, right? Chupa, get down, you piece of shit. Yeah, 100 million. Yeah, we're gonna get 100 million. Hey, TJ, or hey, T Nova, how's it going, buddy? Yeah, I don't want that 100 million. They're not gonna come to Manitoba. It's too cold. They're gonna go to Toronto and Vancouver. It's whack. Omar Al Gabra and Ikra Khalid got reelected, but no surprise with multiculturalism. Mississauga whites are a minority. Yeah, exactly. Demographics is destiny, right? Demographics means everything. That's why it's so important. That's why immigration is the most important topic of our time. There's nothing more important than immigration. Hey, the Prophet, how's it going? Every Tim Hortons drive-through, wireless, and bank customer service all has the same Raj Sajid voice and accent. Yeah, it's true. You're too white for Canada. Yeah, exactly. Ireland, there's too many minorities here. Once you import a third world country, your homeland becomes a third world country. Yes. You must leave the East and leave them and they'll collapse. I agree, but the collapse would be good for them. People don't get better until they hit rock bottom a lot of the times. You see that those drug addicts and they just keep hitting up heroin, putting heroin in their arms. They're like, oh yeah, this is good. And eventually they hit rock bottom and they're laying in their own shit and piss. And they're like, I can't live like this. And then they start to change their lives. They start to do better. They stop, spending lots of money on drugs and on stupid shit that they don't need, because they hit that rock bottom, and it gave them some perspective on life, and was like, oh shit, I can't keep living like this. And that's what a lot of Canada needs to go through. A lot of places in Canada need to go through. Manitoba is a huge recipient of, what do you call it? Equalization payments. They get more than $1 billion or something a year. That's why our premier is like, well, I don't want to separate. No, that's stupid. But we imagine if all the provinces like Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta were united in the idea of separation, and just using that as a threat at the very least. People that then we have some room at the bargaining table or whatever. Because right now, the way the electoral system works, the way the votes are distributed, they only need to listen to Quebec and Ontario. So everybody else, they can just say, fuck you, go to hell. We don't need to listen to you, essentially. But if a huge part of the economy leaves or threatens to leave, then they'll be like, oh, okay, all right. But I don't really care either way. Like, I think it'd be good if Canada, if things separate, just because I'm more of an anarcho-capitalist, to be honest. And I believe the least amount of government, the better. So if the provinces had complete control over the provinces, then that would be good. If they separated, I think that would be good. There's a lot of fears going on, like America is going to come and invade us or buy us up or something, and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. But it's like, can we be sure? Are you sure that's going to happen? Or are you just trying to frighten me from gaining power for myself, from giving my group of people or people of Alberta more say? It's like, there's all these reasons to stay, but they're still going to be losing tons and tons of money. And then, I got these articles I can show you. I may as well show you it now, right? Where people like just the disgusting attitude that these motherfuckers have towards Albertans and their situation. They're like, fuck these people. They made lots of money, and nobody should feel sorry for them. So this is an article. This is an opinion by the Globe and Mail by Gary Mason. No one should feel sorry for Alberta. And they're like, oh, they did it to themselves and blah, blah, blah. They have low tax rates. And if they want to solve their problems, they need to start taxing people more and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, screw you, you piece of shit. Screw you. And here's another thing from, I guess I'll show the Elizabeth May thing next, but this one's pretty horrendous as well. And you're like, fuck these stupid bitches. Like, I'm not from Alberta, but I'm like, Jesus Christ, I have a fucking heart. I have a compassion for people who are getting fucked, for fuck's sakes. I don't give a fuck about, or I mean, I don't want to bomb brown people and Middle Easterners and shit and kill them either. Even though I don't like Islam and like their culture or anything like that, I still don't want to see them suffer or go through pain. But you got people in like the Eastern Canada that are like, yay, good, ha 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 ha, stop complaining, idiot. And it's like, it's almost like you want them to do this, to feel pain or to suffer. It's despicable. But this is this one cunt, and you'll see her go on about Alberta and how they need to like shut the fuck up or something.
Concern and fear in Alberta, in certain sectors of Alberta. Well, clearly a majority of Albertans are entirely fed up with Justin Trudeau, with the East, with Quebec, with all that. There's a counter feeling as well that I'm picking up, which is an impatience with Alberta, which remains, the highest, as last time I looked, at least the highest average income in the country.
See, it's just they're dismissing all of the job loss that is going on in Alberta, everything that's going on. Well, you still make a higher income than everybody else. Well, you still have so shut the fuck up. So shut the fuck up. Like,
it is not an economic basket case by any means, notwithstanding the fact that it's central.
That's easy to say when you haven't lost your job. It's really easy to fucking say.
The industry has taken a huge hit. Nobody denies that.
Oh, thank you. Now you. Well, nobody denies it took a big hit, but they make $15 an hour minimum wage.
In my view, bogus to blame that entirely, to lay that at the feet of Justin Trudeau or the Liberals.
It's not that they're laying it entirely on the blame of Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, but we all know that nothing is going to be done at the very least with the Liberals when it comes to Alberta getting screwed over. When you listen to their policies, when you listen to what they're saying about fucking carbon tax and getting rid of oil by 2030, the fucking what is the foundation of their fucking economy. Like, well, why are they so mad that this guy is getting, like, at least the Conservatives are trying or saying, like, okay, well, we're gonna reach the Paris Climate Accords, but we're like, they're kind of pandering to, or not pandering, but they're kind of like listening to Alberta at the very least, or somewhat. A lot of their policies still screwed over Alberta and stuff as well. The Conservative Party is pro-immigration as well, and you'll see in a couple articles I was reading, because it's like, you see, it was like Harper who opened up a lot of the visa programs to let in a bunch of these temporary workers, or I think the worker program as well as students to come in through the country, etc. Right, but I'm losing track of what I was talking about. But yeah, it's Alberta, bitch, and she's going to go on a little bit.
It's a result, as Rob will know, of a whole bunch of factors, largely the discovery of fracked oil in the Permian Basin in Texas. There's a lot more going on than Jason King.
But yeah, it's like it's the policies. It's not just low oil prices. It's not just like, oh, the shale deposit discoveries. It's like, no, there's identifiable regulations that are being imposed and put in place that put a cost on oil and gas and energy, which raises the price, which makes it harder to get pipelines through. Trudeau changed the regulatory process to approve pipelines to make it harder for them to get through. You know what that, like, well, why are they complaining? It's like, these people, they think we're all idiots. They think we're all fucking idiots. And, it's lying by omission.
Kenny pretends. And I think his belligerence and his insistence that you got to do something for us or forget it is irritating to other Canadians. I'm sure that many other Canadians, at least, and I'm sure Justin Trudeau's aware of that. So he's got to walk a really careful line. Can't write off Alberta. It's an intricate part of the country. The industry is important. It's been a source of revenue and a source of growth for the rest of the country. But, there's got to be some kind of balance.
The Alberta unemployment rate, 6.6%. Saskatchewan's 5.3%, rivaling Ontario's, also 5.3%. And certainly when you compare that 6.6% in Alberta, way better than all of the Atlantic provinces, including Newfoundland and Labrador, at 11.5%. So, John?
So, guys, shut the fuck up about your job loss, because it's not as bad as this province. But these whataboutisms that they're playing here, it's like to not address the actual issue, right? Not address these people's problems. They're trying to downplay them. To say, hey, you should stop complaining. You should stop worrying about your economy because the Atlantic provinces are poor. So if you become poor like them, then maybe you can complain. But until then, you shut the fuck up. Here's more reasons why you're stupid. But, fuck these people. Fuck them to hell. I hate each and every one of them. That's why the media needs to be defunded. Let me check out the chat here. Hey, Forgotten Canadians. How's it going? Hey, Chris Semchuk. Big Boy, The Prophet, Northern Ontario. Why is that, AJ? I find, okay, Northern Ontario is very white. It's like Russia, but Southern Ontario is a mix of Somalia, China, Iraq. Why is that, AJ? I find that odd because people naturally live amongst their own people, and white flight, white people don't want to put their kids in schools where they're a minority. Okay, I just got home today, and as we're driving by, a bunch of kids came out of this school close to my house, and this is kind of like a white area. You know how many white kids I saw? Like 4. All the other kids were brown or Asian or black. And I was like, they're minorities. We're already minorities in a lot of our fucking schools, especially in the cities and stuff. And this is why you see in Winnipeg, there's all these towns growing on the outside of Winnipeg. There's all these small little communities where people have to drive 20, 30 minutes outside of Winnipeg to go live. But it's a nice kind of smaller place with maybe 5,000-10,000 people, like Carmen and a bunch of these other little communities, right, that don't live too far from Winnipeg because they're safer, they're better. They're all your kids are not gonna be minorities, and this is what's happening all over the world. Let me see here. Don't live in fear. Take all legal actions. Gary is the same. Daddy, let's see. I bet she's Ontario teacher. She probably is. Nose measurement. How dare she? In the UK, some jobs are only available to immigrants. Yeah, that's what's happening here more and more. Sick of all these paid shills, liars, liars, liars. Hey, everybody, hit the like button while you're here. Share as well. That really helps because, the algorithms, I don't know, maybe just because I haven't been releasing as many videos lately. I'm trying to release more videos, but definitely getting less views than I was before. But then again, I do alienate a lot of people. I do piss off a good portion of people, even that follow me for a while, and then they're like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit now because you said this about this person, or you had an opinion about this, fuck you. Like, okay, whatever. Nothing but temporary part-time jobs out here. Let's see. Yeah, exactly, right. Trudeau, there's been a massive loss, like 70,000 private sector jobs, like good jobs were lost in June, and a lot of them were replaced by government jobs. A lot of the job growth in Canada right now is part-time jobs, and this is what happened in America, right, under Obama. Like we just have like an Obama in Canada here, and he's doing like pretty much the same type of shit that he was doing there. These idiots don't even know what their cell phones are made from. Yeah, I don't know what my cell phone is made from, to be honest. Once Alberta leaves Canada is done, whoever is in office will cave to their demands. Libertarian Party said it's better if all the provinces became their own countries. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. I think that would be great. If they were all their own countries essentially, and the people within the countries themselves, well, before at least had some connection with each other through lineage, through ancestry. That's the thing. It's how countries can stay together as well, is because you all have a shared heritage, a shared ancestry, and you're less likely to take advantage and fuck over people of your own ancestry. Now, that still happens, but I think it's going to be more likely, right? But what's going to happen in the future of Canada, right? I think that will probably happen anyways. We will separate into different provinces, but there's going to be some provinces that are going to be that are going to belong to the Chinese, like BC, British Columbia, fucking, that's going to be a Chinese province that they're going to use. See, is it no wonder they went to BC right at the coast, and they can use that coast to bring more material out to fucking China or some shit out from there. And, maybe the middle or something will be white land or whitish land. and then Ontario will be run by I don't know, Sikhs and whomever else, and then there'll be more white people on the coast. So we'll have to maybe do some routes where it goes through the territories or something. I don't know. I hate Turdy's gut. AJ is hiding refugees from his roofing business. Am I really? AJ is, yeah. Well, you know, I need cheap labor. So what do you want from me? Old Hersey factory in Smith Falls up and running again, making chocolate pot edibles. Oh, good. I like the chocolate. Canada is too big, lots of disconnect between regions. All the provinces would be better off alone. Right, I agree. But I guess I'll start on with the article about the based immigrants. I wanted to show you guys this because I think it's good to know that there are people out there that are not white, that aren't immigrants, that want less immigration, that want to reduce immigration, that want to keep Europeans the main group in Canada. Like a lot of the guys here, this is what they said, or the parties they supported was about keeping a ethnic majority of Europeans and countries. And they're like, yeah, I support that. You know, if I go to Japan, if I go to China, I would be a Chinese and Japanese nationalist too. And it's just like common courtesy when you're in their country. And I'm like, yes, this is how people should think when they come into other countries. Asians are the world's greatest nomads. I live on the island. Okay, but let's see this article. You guys can read this, right? Yeah, you can see it. Let me see here. So Kulbir Singh, here, one sec. Let me make it full screen so you can see that. But Kulbir Singh Shalwalal, sorry, I took a drink of water there, really doesn't like when he's connected with a customer service representative with a foreign accent. This despite having an accent himself. Here in Canada, I would say don't even employ Kulbir, Shallah said of customer service jobs, because I don't have that Canadian way fully, like, of speaking, right? So this is great. You know, this guy, he doesn't even want to work in these types of places that are catering to Canadians, because he's like, I want Canadians to be doing these jobs, not people that speak like me, that have my accent, that are they're importing these jobs to other countries. I may as well read most of it because I highlighted the majority of it, and I was like, whatever. The most recent federal election saw a small but distinct cadre of people of color and immigrants such as Shallah supporting and in some cases even running for far-right populist parties such as the People Party of Canada, the National Citizens Alliance, and the Canadian Nationalist Party. All of these parties wanted to reduce immigration and scrap Canada's official multiculturalism policy. Despite being an immigrant himself, Shallah says he supports these policies. Shallah, an industrial engineer, came to Canada from India with his wife in 1999. He currently lives in Nova Scotia and calls himself a Canadian nationalist. When he first moved here, he considered himself left-leaning, but over the past 2 decades, he experienced what he calls a political awakening. It led him to attending yellow vest rallies at the movement's peak, where he would wear a matching yellow turban, and people would call him racist. The left media would say this is a racist movement, and there I am with my turban, and it just breaks their narrative, he said. Right, and this is why they're working so hard to, discredit people like this, because it does break their narrative when they see people like Black and brown and Asians saying, yeah, we want less non-white immigrants coming to Canada. And you're like, what? Like, yeah, they should be able to keep their majority, essentially, right? And because this is the right that every person, every group has in their country, that they should have the right to the destiny of the future of their country. They should be able to let certain people in and other people not let in, right? But you're an immigrant because you stole the land from the natives, so that means you should have open borders, and you can't have a control of your borders. You can't decide who comes in and out of your country. You can't decide who would be a better fit for your country. Hey man, if we didn't have a government and it was an anarcho-capitalist society, whatever, I don't give a shit. People have the freedom of movement to go here or there or whatever, but we don't. We live in countries with governments, with nationalism, and we need to preserve our people, especially when immigration itself is costing Canadians billions and billions of dollars each and every year. It costs $30 to $40 billion a year to process immigrants and to do everything with immigration. So that's not fair to put that cost on people. The Canadian government should be working in the interest of the Canadian people, not of other people. And even this article brings this up, and this guy's like, oh, this turns into nativism, which is supporting your own people above other people. You're like, well, yeah. Like, that's what everybody else does. We're fucking stupid if we don't think that way. That's the problem with white people, is that they're too nice and they think everybody thinks like they do. They think everybody isn't as tribalistic or isn't tribalistic like they are. And yes, we're tribalistic still to some degree, and all that stuff. It's still in us, but not at all to the same degree as other groups. And a lot of white people just don't understand that. But he was first drawn towards the conservatives, then towards far right fringe parties such as the National Citizens Alliance, which, in addition to advocating for lower taxes and the abolishment of the Bank of Canada Act, wants to reduce immigration levels to 50,000 a year. Shawlaw previously ran for the National Advancement Party of Canada, the NCA's predecessor in Calgary, Midnapore, in 2017 by-election. So, I remember arguing with some people about not letting in immigrants into the party because, they should only be first generation Canadian or third or fourth or something. And I was like, I understand where you're coming from, but you can't turn away people who are going to get politically active, who are going to try to go out there and change things, who are going to run for a party, a nationalist party that like this, or base party, and promote things that would be good for Canadians as a whole. Or, so why would you turn away support? Why would you turn away people like this? It's just stupid, right? We need every voice that we can get, whether that person is white or black or a woman or a man. Every single one that we can get is valuable and should not be turned away in any way whatsoever, because we are a minority in a lot of ways already. So we need all the support we can get. And whether we like it or not, people, like I said, are tribalistic. And if we want other groups of people to understand what is going on in Canada, the problems with mass immigration, all this stuff, you're going to need people like them to go out and say to the others, hey man, like, they're not going to listen to white people because they're going to think we're just being racist and shit. But when it's coming from a brown person, it's harder to call them racist. Like, they still will, to call them like a coon, or they'll be like, you're this, or you're find other ways to dismiss them. But if enough of them do that, if enough of them are making those arguments, it gets difficult, very difficult for the average person to fall for the propaganda, to start listening. They'll start listening to these people more. But it's good. We gotta, like I said, don't turn away potential allies. Responsible immigration, right? He was first drawn towards conservatives, blah, blah, blah. He says some reason his political stance shifted are political correctness and liberal indoctrination about issues such as white supremacy and racial profiling. The former, he says, doesn't exist, and the latter, he believes, is valid in some cases. So this is great. He's like, white supremacy doesn't exist. That's what he says. And racial profiling is justifiable in some cases, which is true. It's not racism. This is what people don't understand. It's not racism to judge people as a group. Individuals, you got to judge differently. But if groups have certain averages that happen, right? If on average, terrorism comes from Islam and not Christianity, then it's not racist to say that some Muslim guy it's not racist to think or to be worried about this Muslim guy in a big turban possibly being a terrorist, because there's reasons to believe that. There's evidence behind it. It happens. Like if you get mugged by a group of Asians every time you walk by Asians, and now you cross the street because you see a group of Asians, it's not racist. You're just doing what is going to save you from likely getting mugged, because everybody else you walk by didn't mug you. But you're not allowed to point to these. You're only allowed to point to this when it's white men, when they're in disproportionate. Oh, well, they disproportionately, when they're committing the disproportionate amount of terrorism in America, apparently, then all these politicians are going to say, oh, white men, we need to watch white men and keep track of them and do all this shit. It's okay to group them all up and to say all this about them and to profile them. But nobody else. That doesn't apply to nobody else, right? So he says some reason, but so, and this is what shifted him away. It was the rhetoric from the left, the constant white supremacy, that harping on the racial profiling. He's like, this is what helped him get awakened. The left's own fucking rhetoric was, backfired against them. It started with the Yellow Vest movement. It's come up as a big, I will say, wake-up movement for Canada and Canadians. It brought them together as well. So there's a great deal of populism and nationalism going on. He compared nationalism to working for a corporation. The ultimate goal should be the betterment of the company rather than advancing one's own personal fortune. The same goes for living in a confederation. So this guy gets it, right? It's not about just helping yourself in a society like this. It's about helping the nation in some way. But there's also issues with that way of thinking, and it can lead to some negative outcomes as well. You know what I mean? Like, people will be like, oh, you got to fight for the nation. Here, go fight, go die in Iraq and kill all these people that didn't do anything to you, right? So people got to be careful about that, because, the whole support the troops narrative, which I do support the troops. I do support, I think they should be helped. We need to fucking pay for their fucking healthcare, for fuck's sakes, and help them. But the support the troops narrative used in America and all this crap, this jingoism is just used to drive support of the masses for the illegitimate wars that people are going to die in, where these veterans are going to go die in for stupid fucking reasons, right? But so there is, you shouldn't take that too much to heart, what he said in a sense, right? Like, I think maybe not as a nation, maybe or I guess the nation kind of means a people. I don't know exactly. I'd have to think about that maybe a little bit more. In particular, he's opposed to customer service being outsourced to other countries. Or wait, I missed a little bit. It's okay. It's where his deep distaste for call centers that employ people with accents stem from, he said. He believes it hurts Canada both economically and in terms of national identity. I agree. In particular, he's opposed to customer service being outsourced to other countries for economic reasons. It takes jobs out of Canada and hurts the country's GDP. It inspired him to create a change.org petition urging the government and corporations to create call centers in Canada. So, this is a good guy, right? He's creating call center or trying to create jobs in Canada for Canadians, not for his Punjab relatives in India, which is good. This is the type of person that, is okay to come to Canada, right? When I come here, I found my own type of people speaking on the call. Then it's no different from being in India. We immigrants came to Canada for a whole different outlook on life, and we find it's all changing back to the same old Punjabi style. For parties such as the People Parties of Canada that were accused of harboring racist and candidates and policies, there's an obvious benefit of having candidates and supporters of color, says Akash Maharaj. This guy's a piece of shit. A former senior resident at Massey College and CEO of the Mosaic Institute, an organization that helps bring together immigrants who have come to Canada from countries affected by conflict. There have been an effort by extreme right parties to try and play the game of blackface and brownface. And I'm like, what do you mean? See, once again, they're trying to discredit minorities supporting nationalistic policies by saying, oh, it's a form of black and brown face. Hey guys, the only person wearing black and brown face is fucking Trudeau, okay? That's the only person wearing black and brown face. Nobody else. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But somehow they're trying to make this into a black and brown face thing. I'm like, no, we just have immigrants who actually support these policies. It's not a form of brown face and black face. We're not trying to use them. It's like, oh, hey, you believe in freedom of speech and you believe in less immigration and less this and that. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Let me check out the chat. Some a-holes called me a Muslim immigrant. Max Ho Fo. Start say milk toast. Good old AJ. How's it going? Burnout Rage. Everybody hit the like button, share, all that good stuff. I feel bad for white kids in BC, the peer pressure. They don't want to be held accountable for their actions. Hey Stan, how's it going, buddy? Let me check the chat here. 1 second. Hey LG. We need to vet new migrants better. If we go to war from where they come from, will they stand behind Canada or motherland? Yeah, exactly, Trish. That's something that I worry about too, is that, you need to worry about the people you're bringing in, because look at China. We have all these conflicts with China. Now, are a lot of these Chinese people going to be supporting us or the Chinese? You know what I mean? Not a good idea. We had this Chinese woman in Winnipeg here working in a lab, and she was stealing shit from the lab, or she's, I think, still under investigation. But yeah, clearly she's stealing shit for China. She's not even a permanent resident, but she's working in one of these like top facilities where they're like testing Ebola and all these fucking biohazard and drugs and shit. And you're like, oh, this is a good idea. Let's just let in some Chinese that are, they don't do anything, dubious ever. It's like literally everything the Chinese have, they stole from like America or Europe or something. Like, not everything, but let's be honest. Like, they've stolen most of what they have. Like, they steal, patents, and they steal information, and they cheat continuously. And you're like, for fuck's sakes. Let's see the article here. Where is that? There have been an effort by extreme, blah, blah. But the allure of anti-immigration policies for immigrants themselves is more complex. On the face of it, it looks absurd. I think it is absurd. I wouldn't say it's widespread, Maharaj said, but it's more common than one might think. It's the old pull up the ladder syndrome, he added. Now that they have made it in, they want to protect themselves from people exactly like themselves that harbor the same ambitions. See, this is the thing. they don't harbor the same ambitions as this guy. It's not about pulling up the ladder and not letting these guys succeed. It's like these greedy capitalists that they like to pull up the ladder and do. It's like, no, he's not doing that. He just doesn't want Canada to change too drastically from the country he's trying to escape from. Like, that's just prudent. That's smart. Why wouldn't you do that? But, they're trying to make him out to be like a bad guy, right? Oh, well, he just wants to pull the ladder out from others so they can't better themselves like him. That piece of shit. They are afraid more people benefiting from Canada means that their share of the pie will somehow diminish. So, benefiting. So, hey, you admit that people benefit from coming here, right? It's a privilege to come to Canada. It's not a right. And so if people are benefiting from coming here, from leaving their country, are they really making this country a lot better? Some of them, sure. Like, there are going to be some people that come to Canada and create jobs, which is good. Hopefully you give those jobs to everybody and not just to your people, which I see a lot of, these people being, wow, look at this guy. He created all these jobs and he hired all these refugees and new immigrants to Canada. And you're like, aren't they supposed to be benefiting Canada, Canadians as a whole? No, you're just more tax money for you, but fuck everybody else. It's old pull up the ladder syndrome. This phenomenon is even more common among recent immigrants when compared to first-generation Canadians or the descendants of immigrants, Maharaj noted. So I didn't really get this because it doesn't appear that way. It doesn't appear that it's common among recent immigrants when compared to first-generation Canadians or the descendants. More common among recent immigrants when compared to first-generation Canadians or the descendants of immigrants. Okay. So I guess what they're saying is that people who have been here a while, this is more common among them. But usually second generation, which is true because there's the recession to the mean, right? You'll get high IQ Indians, whatever people coming in from low IQ countries. But then over time, there'll be a recession to the mean. And, their kids may not be as smart as them, aren't in the country for the same reasons as them. And in some cases can start to be more nationalistic towards their home country again, which they never even lived in. You're like, what the fuck? So descendants and first generation. So people that just first come in, I guess. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Peter Lowen, a populism expert at the University of Toronto Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy, said when immigrants move to Canada, integrate into mainstream society, and accept the status quo, there's a quick transition to viewing themselves as Canadian and therefore different from the rest of the people coming in, which they are. Once you become Canadian, you are different from the rest of the people coming in. This is why we have borders. This is why we have the term Canadian, American, French, English. These are all different. No, but we're all the same and everybody's the exact same and there are no borders and all the countries, you should be able to travel freely between them. Blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, he explained, populism sells well to immigrant communities because it's at its heart, it's about a deep disaffection with the political class who are seen as unsympathetic or even antagonistic towards everyday people. Immigrants can often come from countries with political corruption. Okay, so they come from shitty countries, so this is why populism is, populism is what? You know what I mean? First of all, people just keep throw around this term, like populism. But, there's different forms of populism. And then also, like it's what, doing the will of the people, and that's somehow a really bad thing. It's like doing what the people want. Oh, this bad populism. sells well to immigrants. But populism comes in different forms, says Drew Fagan, professor of public policy at Monk's School and a former deputy minister of Ontario government. The new strain of right-wing populism increasingly pits itself against subsets of the population like immigrants and minorities, whereas left-wing populism pits itself against what is viewed as an unfair system, he said. It's about structure as opposed to people. So left-wing populism, good. Right-wing populism, racist. I get it. Yours is good because you're against power structures and white supremacy and blah 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 capitalism. Blah. But this one's bad because it's pitting people against minorities or something. It's talking about the people of Canada and how we can best benefit them by not importing people to keep bringing the housing cost up so nobody can afford a home, keep wages stagnant. Like, this is all mass immigration does. It does not help the population. It's bad for them. So right-wing populism is the people trying to fight for what the fuck their ancestors built for them, from a bunch of vultures and vampires coming in and stealing it and sucking us dry. Like, that's what it is. It's stopping these fucking globalists from letting in anybody into the country for any reason they want. For my husband beat me, I should be a refugee now. It's like, no, fuck you. Go to your own country. Let them take care of you. But I have nothing against other people. But I care more about my own people than other people. No fucking shit. Everybody should be that way. Every single person should care more about their family than they do anybody else's family. If you don't, you're an idiot. You're stupid. You're a fucking moron because it's your family. These are the only people that give a shit about you. Nobody else gives a shit about you, man. Nobody else gives a shit about you. They're not thinking about you. They're not worried about you. They don't care if you succeed. They don't care if you fail. People, and that's not because they're bad people and they're immoral, but everybody has their own things to deal with, their own life, their own worries, and dealing with the problems that your family have is enough. Like, you should worry about that. A lot of these people trying to save the world, I bet you they have a brother that's addicted to fucking meth, or their mom's a whore, or they're this or that, or they have all these problems in their life. Their dad's a fucking drunk. Who knows? But they're not going to address any of those, which permeate throughout the rest of society and make the rest of society bad and a terrible place to live in. But let's ignore that and let's go to Africa and help these fucking kids in Africa, and we'll all take pictures together, and I'll be like, oh, I'm so great. While there's people in Canada that are poor, that are starving. I saw this story of this woman who was kicked out of a mental facility, and now she's living in tents. She's a 65-year-old fucking woman living in tents because she's too afraid to go to the shelters because she'll get attacked or mugged, or she's afraid of being raped. And nobody gives a shit about her. Nobody. They just, sorry, you have to leave. You have no place else to go. Okay, well, just, here. They probably didn't give her a tent. Somebody probably gave her one, helped her out or something. Some other homeless person gave her a tarp or whatnot. But it's disgusting what we do, how we neglect our own people. And that's what it is. A lot of it's neglect. We neglect other people. We just look the other way. And I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of neglecting people and not doing as much as I should do and could do to make the world better and to help our own people, as opposed to, this fake virtue signaling and this fake helping people with fake fiat currency, fake money that you don't have to pay for, just your next generation, your kids have to pay for, or whomever, right? Let me check the chat here for a second. I missed it a little bit. Hey, Saxon, how's it going, buddy? Hey, Alan. Farmers, my patriarchy. Canada needs to fix our problems first. Yeah, exactly. Right. So Nina, I agree. Can you have a nation without borders, a home without doors, without locks? Exactly. This is all basic common sense. We need, if you have a house and you have limited resources, this is how people need to think about the country, as a house with limited resources. And if you let 10, 20 people into your house that has 2 bedrooms and not a lot of food, how long do you think you can live like that? You think it's going to get crowded? You think everybody's going to have to start to live on a lot less? Like, that's going to happen. But we have this magic government money, fiat currency, that keeps the problem going and prolonging until there's going to be a huge crash. But what else is this? The new strain of right-wing populism is viewed as unfair system, he said. And what is emerging around the world and in Canada is far-right populism, Fagan added. Its members are largely religious, have reservations about diversity, and are disdainful of institutions or perceived elites. Right? They always diminish everybody else's perspective. Oh, it's perceived elites. It's like, oh, so they don't exist? They don't exist, these elitists. Probably like the person who's writing this article right now. From there, populism can devolve into nativism, a policy of promoting the interest of native inhabitants of a country against those of immigrants. Like, wow, what a horrible thing. This guy's, it's going to devolve into nativism, a policy of promoting interest of native inhabitants of a country against those of immigrants. Well, I wonder how these people feel about Aboriginals and stuff, and how we help Aboriginals. Are they fine with helping the native inhabitants of Canada, above the other Canadians because we stole their land? I'm sure they would be. I'm sure they're fine with that. I'm sure they're okay with it. Let me see who's in the chat here. Tremblay, BC won't fall. What else is there? Hey Slavey, how's it going, buddy? Get Phil Brown 2 on. Well, I don't know. If he's in the chat, I'd have him on. Elites around the world have run our economies into the ground. Trump or no Trump, global depression is around the corner. Yeah, I agree with you. Based immigrants. Yeah, there's some based immigrants, like the one I'm reading right now in this the article. Fuck you, cringe. You know what's cringe? Using the word cringe. That's cringe. But and what is emerging around the world in Canada as far as populism? From there, populism can dissolve into nativism. This specific form of nationalism requires some sort of ethnic majority, which naturally leads to xenophobia, Islamophobia, and racism, even in a country like Canada, where multiculturalism is embedded in the country's values. See that? So a majority white country it's going to be xenophobic, Islamophobic, and racist. I wonder if he says this about any other country that is, and says this about, I don't know, South Korea, or any all these other countries. Probably not. And the solution, unfortunately, often involves demonization by placing blame on an external threat, according to John Allen, senior fellow at Monk School. It's much more toxic and dangerous, the former Canadian ambassador to Israel and Spain explained. It's based on circumstances you can't control. You don't choose your ethnicity. You don't choose your gender or sexual orientation. It's a throwback to an uglier time. See, this is what they're making it all about, right? And yes, we know people don't choose their ethnicity and their cultural makeup. You don't choose where you're born. But who cares, man? I don't give a shit. Doesn't mean the whole world can come into Canada. I'm sorry you were born in India. I'm sorry you were born in whatever country you're born into. But tribalism exists, whether you like it or not. and tribalism will persist in a multicultural society with multiple different cultures and ethnic groups all living side by side with the same fucking government. Okay, that will not work. Will not work. It's not racist. It's just it's pragmatic. It's much more toxic and dangerous. The former Canadian ambassador, whatever, it's based on circumstances you can't control. In the most recent federal election, Ralston Colhoro, I can't even say it, ran in Quebec for the Canadian Nationalist Party, a far-right fringe party with the stated goal of maintaining the demographic status of Canada's European descended majority. Evil, just horrible. Coelho is not part of that European descended majority. But Colho, whose parents immigrated from India, is a member of the party because he supports reducing Canada's immigration levels. He's concerned about immigrants coming into Canada and living off social assistance or entering the country with hidden criminal records or terrorism sympathies, right? So, if this guy was white, they'd be like, this guy is so fucking racist. In an interview with Star Edmonton, he offered dubious numbers about how half of the immigrants who came to Canada in the 1980s are living on welfare, or the refugee migrants form a disproportionate number of homeless people in Canada. He was unable to cite a source for these numbers. So, they're not going to cite sources to dispute him, though, right? You notice that? Because it's true, because the homeless shelters are getting filled to the tits right now in places like Toronto and all over the fucking country. Why is that? You know what? When I drive by some homeless shelters, you know what I see a lot of? I see a lot of niqabs, a lot of burqas around the whole lineup of people standing out front, and they're black a lot of the time, and a lot of the people crossing the border illegally were black or you just think I'm a fucking idiot? Think I'm stupid? No. Interview welfare and blah, blah, blah. My point is, at least with me, is we need to bring in the best people. See, this is based, man. This is based. So you can give me your cringe shit. He argues that it's important to preserve Canada's European descended majority demographic. Ah, shit. Is my computer working? Come on. Am I back? Am I back? Might do it again. Come on, you stupid bitch. You fucking bitch. Okay, yeah, I can tell it's still being a little bit slow here. Okay, now it should be back. Let me know, guys. Did I just lag the fuck out there? Pretty sure I did. Oh, I gotta upgrade this fucking computer. I just gotta get a new one. I really do. Hey all, thank you for joining me so far. I appreciate it. Everybody hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that stuff. If you haven't done it so far. Mohammed, I have black hair, boy blue. Look at us go. Is AJ being grappled, or is that on my end? Yeah. The Clintons got AJ. Yeah, it lagged. It was lagging a bit. Okay, good. All right. Yeah. Sorry, guys, about that. Little lagging issue. Hey, Saxon Rockwell, how's it going, buddy? Okay, good. I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, Elizabeth, how's it going? I don't think I've seen you here in the chat before, or maybe I have. I just don't remember. Pants Monster, how's it going? Dab, Nativism. First Nations better step up to the plate. You think white man was a problem? Say hello to Islam and goodbye to treaty rights. Yeah, I agree with you, AR Green. Aboriginals should be working with white people to make sure white people are not replaced, or even if you don't want to do it for that reason, do it for the reason that son of a bitch. Oh, it's lagging again. You piece of shit. Oh, am I back? Did it fucking lag again, for fuck's sakes? I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why it's doing that right now. Probably it is right now. Yeah, okay. 1 sec. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. Son of a bitch. Am I back? Okay. Fucking Christ, guys. I'm sorry. I don't likes to be a piece of shit sometimes. Probably still lagging again. Okay. It's doing it because I'm speaking the truth. I know. I agree with you. I agree with you. Peace out, Slavey. Have a good one. Robbers? No, I don't use Rogers. I don't think it's my. It might be my internet. I don't think it's my internet connection. I think it might just be my computer. Maybe I got too many fucking tabs up or something. But you know, this guy he's pretty base. He's saying he wants to keep the majority, or he argues that it's important to preserve Canada's European descendant majority demographic because it was their policies and values that attracted immigrants in the first place. So this guy's based as fucking shit, man. See, you're going to see Indians are going to be one of the first minority groups probably attacked as like coons or something, right? But he's like, my parents came here for a higher standard of living, and they had no problem with it, he said, adding that his mother supported his candidacy. This is a country that was built by people who were a majority from Europe. So I don't see inconsistency on my part in supporting the Canadian Nationalist Party. On their website, the Canadian Nationalist Party says they would put the ethnic majority before ethnic minorities. He said he doesn't see any contradiction in supporting a party that says it would prioritize the needs of others based on their ethnicity over his own. If I was living in Japan or India or any other country, I'd be in favor of nationalism there. It's just like common courtesy, he said. When you come to my home, I expect you to respect my home and keep the best interest of the home in mind. Shala says more recent immigrants to Canada are basically piggybacking on the system. He doesn't believe diversity is Canada's strength, and for that reason would like to see immigration levels reduced to 100,000 people or less annually compared to the current targets. The reduction needs to happen, otherwise the flavor of Canada, the way it was founded by the forefathers of Canada, is getting affected. So this guy gets it. A lot of immigrants, a lot of these people, they understand the problems with diversity. The argument that European ancestry is intrinsic to Canadian identity doesn't hold water to Maharaj, though, even though it was built like 99% by Europeans. It doesn't hold water because who points out that Japan and India aren't the same as Canada. They are nation states with a linked civic and ethnic identity. Oh, okay. So I wonder what his opinion on France is, on the UK, on, all these different parts of Europe. I wonder if they also have a right to stop mass immigration, to worry about, ethnic replacement. But see, because Canadians, because Canada, we weren't all English here or something, that means we need to let in the third world. No, Canada in the beginning said they only wanted white people coming here. It even said it. Even John A. MacDonald, he's like, no, They just wanted white immigrants. That's what they said. All those Chinese people that they brought to build a section of the railroad, one section of it, not even all of it, like the one section of it, they were never meant to stay. They were meant to be here temporarily. Then they were supposed to be sent back. But see, this is the problem. See, even John A. McDonald was trying to get some cheap labor into the country to build up. And, that never works out. Never works out. They never leave. The argument that European ancestry, blah, blah, in a country like Canada, more than 95% of the people living in this country are either immigrants or descendants of immigrants. Oh, okay. So they weren't settlers, right? They didn't build the country. No, they were immigrants like everybody else. Everybody else. No, they weren't. They were settlers. My ancestors came here in the 1600s and were the first people to come here. We're the first people to build things here, to like set a foundation, to build towns, to live here. It's like, no, I'm not the same. I'm not a fucking immigrant, you piece of shit. Like, no way. It's like people don't come to Canada for the teepees and the wigwams and the bannock, okay? And the forest and the fucking rivers. They come for the infrastructure, for the rights and the freedoms and all this other crap that Europeans created, that built with their own two hands, okay? And things you build with your own two hands belong to you. They don't belong to the rest of the world. They belong to you and your family and your people because they invested their time and energy building this stuff from nothing. When my ancestors came here, there was not a welfare state. There was not this garbage shit. They lived in an overturned fucking cart and lived in that overturned cart, tilled the land until they built themselves a fucking home from scratch. Okay? Like nobody else around. No help. No nothing. Okay? Like, not the same thing. But these pieces of shit want to make it the same. An authentically Canadian experience has absolutely nothing to do with your racial ethnicity or what language or religion might be. No, this country was a Christian country, and French and English were the two main languages spoken in Canada. And then I guess some Gaelic over time with the Scottish people, I suppose, and the East Coast or whatever. But that didn't really have too much impact. But it's French and English. We do have national languages. That's where I see the arguments of the far right crumbling into absurdity. In fact, I would argue that the people who are being the most inauthentically Canadian are the far right. They have fundamentally misunderstood what our country has always been about. So, Mr. Maharaj, how long have you lived in Canada? How long have you been in Canada, but somehow you know what it is to be authentically Canadian? Same with Ahmed Hussein, who calls old stock Canadians not Canadian because they don't love mass immigration that's going to replace them with more people like him. That's not Canadian. Like, fuck these people, man. That's where I see the argument. They have fundamentally misunderstood what our country has always been about. No, man. Importing a bunch of third world people will only get us a third world country. And our country is not about that. Alain Deng, one of the founding members of the PPC, ran for the party in a federal election in the culturally diverse riding of Vancouver South. He only garnered like 500 votes, 1% of the vote. A former Conservative Party member, Deng, joined the early ranks of the PPC because his belief in free speech and frustration with political correctness. The party, which maintains libertarian values but includes supporters that are social conservatives and nationalists, called for a reduction in immigration 150,000 a year with higher percentage of economic immigrants. In an interview during the federal election campaign, he said Canadian unity is far more important than diversity, and often repeated that phrase, Canadians first. people are waking up. That's why smart populism in this world gets the markets, Deng said. Deng, denied accusations of racism, but he has a history of Islamophobic rhetoric on social media, most of which was removed following an iPolitics story in May. I'm not a racist or a bigot. I'm an immigrant from China. I escaped from a socialist dictatorship country. I was thirsty for freedom and democracy from a Western country, he said. But I'm totally against Islam and radical Islam. But what some refer to as populism, Andrew Parkin would simply call racism. I worry that labeling it as something else makes it disappear, explained the executive director of the Environics Institute, a nonprofit polling and research firm. If people are targeting vulnerable members of the community, call it what it is without painting a political theory. So they just keep lumping up right-wing populism with attacking immigrants and migrants and shit. They're like, just call it what it is, racism. And this guy, Maharaj, or not Maharaj, but the other guy, Shalwal, he's a coon. These are all coons, or they're all just wearing black and brown face, and they're not actually brown people, or they're being used, they're being paid, who fucking knows, or they're just really confused, right? Maharaj has observed how ethnic groups that have never had conflict outside of Canada find themselves at odds with other immigrant communities once they arrive here due to different social practices and levels of economic success. Some of the racism one sees and some of the tension one sees between different ethnic groups in Canada are a somewhat unique Canadian creation, Maharaj said. So apparently this tribal warfare that goes on between people is Canada's fault. It's our fault. We created this hatred between these immigrant groups. It's a Canadian creation. It's a unique Canadian creation for people to escape a country, escape a socialist regime, to go live in a free country, to not want more socialists to come in, live into their country. Like how is that? That's no. They're just trying to leave, and they don't want more people who make their home country bad come into Canada and make Canada bad. Or they don't want they want Europeans to remain the majority of the country, like that other Indian guy, right? The lure of populism, nativism, and ultimately racism is strong in immigrant communities because most come from countries where cultural and racial divisions are the norm, he said. So pitching multiculturalism as an inherent virtue of Canada is not always an easy sell. So he just said the tensions between these groups is a unique Canadian creation. Then literally in the next paragraph says they come from countries where cultural and racial divisions are the norm. Like, so which is it? Sorry. India is literally the most racist country on earth. It is. Look at there's these polls or something released about it. They're the most racist country on earth, and then you're curious why there's divisions or ethnic divisions when they come here into Canada. Well, have you heard about the caste system in India? Like different levels that you get that people go on and shit. Some people are like treated like shit. Well, it's a unique Canadian creation, this and that. But really, this is also just a misrepresentation as well too, because there is no fighting going on really necessarily. Just this guy wants less immigrants into Canada, but they're making it this huge thing. Racism exists not only against non-white Canadians, but within non-white Canadian communities against one another. This is in many ways the ugly little secret of the fight against racism, he said. So what about the racism against white people? Oh, well, we all know non-white Canadians experience racism every day in their life because they're surrounded by white people. How else Of course they experience racism, but do white people experience racism, prejudice, or anything? No, there's none of that. As the non-white population of Canada grows and becomes more complex, that truth will become more evident. So there's the article, fucking a dumb hoe. If you want to read it, you can read it there. I'll put it in the chat. Let me stop sharing it though. Let me check out the chat. Let's see here. So Alan, hey AR, Dino, Little Somalian, right on AJ, hey Sanina. If that's true, Faye, then you prove my point. The dead were incompetent. Suppose the other boat didn't have lights on. Who had a boating accident? Didn't O'Leary just kill someone? Oh, yeah, right? Yeah, he did kill somebody. Or I don't know. Was it his wife that got in a boating accident? I think it was his wife. Can't remember. Don't know if he'd help the working class. Every day I leave the house, it's in my face that I'm a minority in my own country. Exactly, Sully. That's getting more and more evident every single day. I leave my house too, right? Yeah, his wife. Trudeau couldn't manage a hot dog cart. No, he couldn't. That guy's a complete retard. He's probably one of the most inept or the most inept leader in Canadian history. How many deals has he fucked over? He fucked up the deal in India by bringing a fucking convicted terrorist with him and taking pictures, dancing like an idiot. He fucked up deals in China because they call him Little Potato. He alienated Trump, Canada's biggest trading partner on the planet. Like, the list goes on and on and on. He's buying worthless jets from Australia, something that are insufficient. He's not giving money to veterans, even though he's giving hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to the third world to make sure that they have abortions, and giving $150 million to the reconstruction of the what do you call it? That country that was hit by a hurricane, the Caribbean islands and stuff like that. Like, throwing money away from $250 million to like girls in Africa or something. And you're like I hate this guy so fucking much, right? And so I really want Alberta to separate, or Wexit to happen to some degree, because you know what? When I saw people reacting to the complaints of Alberta and their situation on Twitter, you see a lot of people, hey, this is democracy. Get used to it. This is democracy. Get used to it, right? And but then I see the same people promoting this thing where they're like, oh, well, there's all these people in Alberta who don't want to separate, and who are saying they're going to stay, and you don't worry, we're going to stay. We're not going anywhere. And you're like, well, you live in a democracy. So if 60% of the people don't want to stay, well, too fucking bad, right? That's the type of society you want to live in, right? Whoever wins the majority makes the rules. So, I don't care anymore. I don't care about people's complaints about this and that. One of the only ways that you're going to get people to like freedom is if you fucking impose it on them, or if they get to such a shitty situation in life that they understand the values of, being a small government, or being reliant on yourself and not reliant on the government, etc. And they'll learn the reasons why it's better to have a free economy, etc. But, it's like, if you win a majority government and people whine and complain about, reducing government jobs and cutting teachers' jobs, and are like, shut the fuck up. This is democracy, motherfucker. We just won the majority. So that means you have to listen to what I say. And if you don't, I'll use the power of the state to impose it upon you. Because that's how people think. So, that's, you get to the point where you're like, fuck, man. Is that the only way to get things done? maybe, maybe, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't be imposing my freedom on people anyways. You can't impose freedom on people, right? It's be helping you. But you would be mad and kicking and screaming the whole way. But, this is how things work, and then they say, fuck Alberta, fuck the West. We won. Trudeau won. So that means we make the rules, and we don't have to listen to you. And they don't have to listen to you because the electoral system only needs politicians to campaign in Quebec and Ontario, and everybody else can fuck off. Your opinions don't matter, and they never will matter. I think I saw Jason Kennedy say something about, they're going to do a referendum on, I don't know, not leaving, but the carbon tax, or I don't know. These referendums will work or not, but something definitely needs to change. And this stealing from other people and giving it to others is not good for the future of Canada, and is not good for the unity of Canada, right? Because what are Albertans? They're Canadian. They're us, right? How many of us are related? Probably a lot of us. Like, a lot of us cross borders, and if you go back enough in time and stuff, I have relatives that live in every province, right? I got uncles that live in Alberta, that live in Quebec, that live in fucking the Atlantic provinces, that live here, that live in Manitoba. My family is all over Canada. So, we shouldn't be at each other's throats, but this is what socialism does. This is what equalization payments does to people. It makes them angry at one another, because justifiably so. You're stealing somebody's money, giving it to somebody else, and that's going to create controversy among people, and people are going to be mad at each other. And it's better for people just to survive on their own 2 feet, and then we can come and help them if they need help or whatever. But just stealing from other people at the end of a gun and redistributing it is not good for society as a whole, and is why we're so divided right now as a country. Like, it's crazy how divided we are. You can just go on Twitter and you'll see how divided people really are, and it's fucking insane how much Canadians hate each other. Like, I have no ill will towards anybody, to be honest. I don't hate Quebecers. I don't hate Atlantic Canada. I don't even hate liberals. I don't hate them. They're ignorant, and people know not what they do a lot of the times. A lot of people are just useless idiots. They're just useless idiots. And then there's a small group of people that kind of know what they're doing, know the ramifications of everything that they're promoting. But everybody else, they're just kind of just living and not really paying attention, not really thinking about things too logically, living on emotion and feelings instead of logic and facts, right? Feelings, emotions are important. We all have them. We have them for reasons, but you can't let your emotions dictate your perception of reality. Don't think that your emotions are a good gauge of reality because they're not. But that's what the left wants to do. They want to make us into emotion-based creatures. So we just react when we see or hear things that we don't like. See a picture of Trump, it'll bring up an image of, or hear certain words you don't like. Oh, hate speech, silence, censor. NPCs. That's it. Canada is lost. Not useless. Not useless. Yeah, useful. Sorry, useful. Just not useful to us. You're right. No, I don't mean useless idiots. They're useful idiots. That's what I meant to say. But I think, Alberta should definitely separate. And, or at the very least, all provinces should have, complete say over what goes on in their own province. And then the government of Canada should just be a bare bones thing. Maybe all it does is patrol the coast of Canada, make sure the waters are safe or something. And I don't know, like, a few other minor things maybe. But other than that, I think it should be left up to the provinces. And if they want to shoot themselves in the foot by becoming total socialists because the people in that province are stupid, then let them be stupid and let them shoot themselves in the foot and let them lose all of their money in their coffers instead of stealing it from provinces like Alberta, which they love to steal from, but they just don't like where the money is coming from. They don't like that it's dirty oil money, but that doesn't stop them from dipping their hands in your pocket and pulling out at 20. Oh, you fucking climate, you climate denier piece of shit. Thanks for the 20. You piece of motherfucking asshole. Can I have another 40 and 60? Oh, I need to buy this. Oh, I don't have a job, man. Come on. Yeah, you make a lot of money. You climate denying shill idiot. you country bumpkin moron. Doesn't believe in climate change, but I need that money though. Please, I need it. You know, politicians are so pre-selected. And one thing people don't understand too is that socialism is hurting us. You know, it's not making us better. It's making us worse. If you have a kid and you let that kid do whatever he wants, you spoil them, do you think that they're going to be functioning adults when they get out into the real society or anything like that? No, they're going to be screwed over by you. And this is what socialism is doing. You know, it's not helping these provinces. It's not helping Quebec, even though they are getting a lot of money. It's not going to help them in the long run. It's going to fuck them. It's going to fuck the Atlantic provinces. It's going to fuck Manitoba because we're dependent, reliant on that money. And then it's going to go away someday. And then everybody's going to be scrambling and, oh, shit. But over time, things would start to get better because people would be forced to look at their own finances, be forced to change. You know, hitting rock bottom is good. You want people to hit rock bottom so then they change their behaviors. And that's the only way that some people can change. Some people can change before they hit rock bottom, and they can be like, man, I'm going to get really fucked if I keep on this way of life. And if I keep doing coke and all these drugs, I'm going to be on somebody's couch one day with heroin in my arm or some shit, right? And then they can turn away from that life. But other people, they need to keep snorting that cocaine, shooting up that heroin until they're on the floor, lying in their own piss and shit, and then wondering, well, why am I in this situation? And then they stand up and get a new shirt and then go and maybe start to try to change their life and make their life better. But, you know, these provinces, they need to hit rock bottom, and then they can start to get better. And they can start developing their own resources instead of making themselves vulnerable, because that's what it is. We're making ourselves vulnerable for the future. Because, like I said, with the kid example, you know, that kid who lives with his parents until he's 40 or 50, and then his parents die, now that person, they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable, and you put them in that vulnerable situation, and you feel bad about yourself. But election fraud and new market Aurora 2018 had 8K registered voters. In this election, 60K were cast. Yep. Yeah, there's definitely, I've heard a lot of different things from different people about election fraud, or about how they were sent to, this one guy told me he was sent to one polling station across the city, and then they're like, oh, well, you're at the wrong one, so you have to go to this one now. Then they sent him back to the main one he was at, and then they grudgingly finally did it, and they're like, oh, okay, here, fine, okay, we'll let you vote. But they made him like go around the fucking city. And yeah, you know, I've heard a lot of shifty, shady shit for sure. Lib Party invested 10 million erasers in 10 million erasers. Are you kidding me? And I voted with a pencil. Oh, right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they probably erased all that shit. You know, that's the thing too. You know, we do it in a pencil. We should do it in marker. We should do it in something else that's more permanent, At the very least, there's many processes we could do to make it more secure. That wouldn't be very hard. I don't doubt the myth is Canada, right? Yeah, right. I don't care. Honestly, what I care about is freedom. I care about freedom. And that's all I really care about. I want freedom. I want freedom for my family and friends and loved ones, for everybody. Because I think that everybody had freedom, actual freedom, then the world would be a great place. Then we would have technologies that could cure cancer, that could fucking take us to the moon or to Mars or whatever, right? Like much sooner than it is now. Like, there's just so much that is being destroyed by the government by destroying incentives in society. And, it has a really large negative effect on society. And it's just, we would all be better off. We'd all be so much better off. We just didn't have the state running and governing our lives. If we were able to make our own decisions, if we were able to keep all of our own money, if we weren't, forced to send our kids to government schools to be indoctrinated into nonsense, to make them good little workers for corporations instead of free thinking individuals that would make the world a much better place. But, this is what we have instead. You got to spend your time trying to talk to your kids, trying to deprogram them from everything they've learned in school instead of asking them what they learned and being like, wow, that's really interesting. This is really, it's like, what about trannies? What about the climate change? What about this? What about whatever? It's ridiculous. It's an uphill battle. And, I just want people to have real freedom, to have the ability to decide to fail. That's one of the main things. People need the ability to fail and to be wrong and to do this and do that. We don't need a nanny state protecting everybody, every single situation from going bad, right? We need all this regulation to make sure the kids are learning all of the proper stuff. It's like, do we? I think private education would be much better. And if there was, and no curriculum, because people will think, private education today, it is still better than public schooling. Your kids will get a better education, but they still largely have to follow a lot of the same curriculum that the government puts out. And, they have to follow a lot of the same regulations. But if schools were truly able to just do whatever they wanted, then you would start to see some really new, interesting ways of teaching kids that we probably have never thought of before, because you'd have all these little schools all over the place trying out different things. And sometimes it would fail. Sometimes your kids may not learn anything that well in this private school. Maybe it wasn't that great, right? But that's no different than the public education they're going to get right now. It's probably still better because at the very least, they're not going to be indoctrinated. Maybe the teachers aren't as good or as proficient as the other teachers. But that's why maybe it costs less and the teachers are paid less. That's all you can afford, but it's still, your kids are not being indoctrinated. But, over time, these schools would compete with each other, would compete to pay their teachers more, to offer better prices to the teacher or to the parents, and better services, because they want those kids to come to that school, to those schools, as opposed to some other school. But the way it works now, it's everybody has to follow the same thing, and change only happens very slowly because it has to go through all this bureaucracy and changes and all this crap before any little type of change is made. And when it is made, it's like this crazy dumb math where they're not even teaching kids math in Ontario anymore. They're like, well, you don't really need to know how it works and how you do math. Just, how does it make you feel and stuff like that, right? It's just a way to pass minorities who are failing, pretty much, and saying, oh, okay, we're going to change the way math is done because this and that reason. It's like they're just making it easier so more people can pass it, so more idiots can pass it. And then they can bump these kids through education and say, see, I did my job. Give me my raise. Give me my pension. Give me my money. See, I graduated the kid. He's learned. I taught him everything in the book. Give me some money. So teachers like that in a free market system would be fired or would be making very little money. But with the unions the way they are today and how much power they have a secure job off of our backs, off of taxpayers' money, essentially. AJ, self-centered. Fuck you, Dino, faggot. You're self-centered. Everybody's self-centered. Jesus Christ, man. I don't want any immigrants. There should be a party that proposes zero immigration, and maybe they would do better than the PPC did. Maybe. I think that it might have done better. Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like some people, we don't know how people, like I said, it was that article I was reading about that immigrant guy, and he wants to preserve the European ancestry and shit, right? Or the culture of Europeans in Canada. So we may think that people will find these numbers zero to be too hardcore, too extreme, but maybe not. Maybe that's what people will be like, oh, it was not that big of a deal. You know, I'd be for zero immigration, but at the same time, like, you know, sometimes, you know, I don't know, you go to another country, you meet a hot chick, you meet a woman, and you're like, man, I want to make her a Canadian citizen or something, right? I have my kids with her or something, right? I'm not completely against, you know, some immigration, some forms of it, but if it's like based on jobs and all this other shit, then, you know, that's just going to lead to somewhere bad. Let's have a deficit of immigrants, right? You know, so, you know, it's we'll see. You know, I think he could go definitely lower. I think he could go to like maybe 50,000 or 100,000, and that would still be good. That would still work. But holding a moratorium on immigration for at least a few years, that would be something I'd be for, because, you know, imagine if they held a moratorium on immigration, right? You would see people's wages start to go up, housing prices start to go down. You would see massive changes in the economy in a short amount of time. And it would be rocky at first because the whole house of cards is based off immigration. You got to understand this. Like the housing market would crash if they stop importing all of these immigrants into Canada, right? Like that, it'll go down a few points, then it's just going to crash completely. So they have a vested interest to keep importing people continuously, to keep the market up, to keep the unfunded keep some money coming into the coffers to pay for the unfunded liabilities and all this shit. But if you were to put a moratorium on immigration, you would see the economy start to boom. You would see Canadians' wages start to rise. You would see so many positive effects that people would be like, let's have more of this. Let's continue this moratorium, or let's keep the immigration levels at like under 50K or something, right? Like or less, because they would feel the benefits. Food prices would start to go down. You know, like there would be so many benefits. Violence would start to decrease. It will start to decrease. I know people don't like to admit that, but Toronto is more violent because of multiculturalism, not because of guns, not because of racism, because of the minority populations that are moving into Toronto. That's what is creating the violence. You know, I don't know what to tell you, but that's what it is. But whatever, you know, 50K is too high. Well, I mean, maybe it's too high. Maybe it's too high. I don't know. But like I said, a moratorium, at least for a few years, would be a good. And then, you know, who knows, right? Because what do you mean, like immigration? Because do we want some other Europeans to come over here? Because maybe I do. Maybe I want a couple like hot fucking Swedish broads to move over to Canada, and they're European. They're gonna integrate pretty well. You know what I mean? So that's an immigrant. Should we let her in? Should we let her in? I think we should let her in, but we need to be more discriminatory with our immigration policy at the very least, and say, no, nobody from India, nobody from China, nobody from Africa, and if we do take people from England and France and all this stuff, they have to be of European descent and heritage. Because just saying, okay, we'll take immigrants from France, there's a lot of black people, a lot of Muslims, and a lot of whatever in France, so and the UK. So just saying from there, you can't say that. You have to be more precise. Oh, thank you, GA. Thank you for coming by, man. Have a good night. I always wonder what your girlfriend thinks of you wanting her will stopping your pro. She accepts it. She accepts it, Saint. You know, like I don't know. I think she like kind of likes it. I think she likes the fact that I don't give a shit, and she doesn't really. She understands. Like she doesn't. I argue with her all the time about some shit because she is. I'm not gonna say she's on the left. She's not on the left, but she has some ideas that I will find enraging and shit. But yeah, right. So she understands. She understands. Trust me. She doesn't like illegal immigrants, especially illegal aliens coming into a country. She understands the problems of different cultures and all that stuff, right? So that's what I'm saying. People are more based than people assume. Hey, Frederick, what's up, buddy? Only white immigration, right? Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like it needs to be more. If you are going to have immigration after a moratorium for a few years, because like I said, the moratorium on immigration would have a positive impact on the economy, that it would incentivize people to continue the process because they will feel the benefits of lower immigration, including a lot of the immigrant population that lives in Canada who are like the brown guy or the Chalwal guy that I was reading about, who was like, no, like we need to stop immigration completely, right? I was always wonder, Caribbeans are generally more based and compatible. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Caribbeans are based, man. Compared to all the other like groups of people that will immigrate to a country, Caribbeans like Jamaicans and stuff like that, Cubans and stuff like Cubans, they're the most right wing Latino group in America, right? Like Cubans, they vote Republican continuously, right? But so they're more right wing. But a lot of the Caribbean countries, yeah, they do understand. It seems like more so. They do have a way of I don't know what it is. Maybe it's their history, their culture. I don't know, but were also English loyalists. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them were run by England. You know, when the Queen or the King died at one point, you know, all these Jamaicans were like crying and were like, no, and people were like, why are you crying? You're not white or European, but like. You know, they let them, like my girlfriend's parents, you know, they left Jamaica when England left to go live with the English people, right? Because they're like, I don't want to stay here. I want to go and live in England. Because, you know, they're like, they liked the culture. They liked the English culture. They liked the way they did things. They didn't want to go live the way the other Jamaicans did in Jamaica or whatever else, or Cuba or something, right? There's so many NGOs working. There are so many NGOs working on globalist replacement policy, right? Yeah, exactly. You know, this has been going on for a long time. For most of the crime, yeah. Well, Jamaicans. All right, you're right. You know, Jamaicans commit a lot of crime, but I'm saying, like, speaking to some of them, they're more based about some issues. But you know, crime things still exist, right? Like, it's true. crime. They do still commit a lot of crime, right? I'm not denying that. Not denying that. I'm just saying that they're a little bit more base. I'm gonna dress up as Trudeau for Halloween, but with blackface. I think a lot of people are probably gonna risk that one. And I don't know. I don't know if you guys should risk that one, but go for it. Go for it yourself, man. Go blackface. Yeah, no, man. I'm not gonna do the blackface thing. Yeah, I'm a right wing person. I'm not on the left. I can't get away with that shit. Only on the right, only on the left can you get away with blatant racism and killing babies and killing black prostitutes in your hotel room, like that Burke guy, that Democratic donor. We're like, the first black guy died. They're like, meh. Second one died. They're like, oh, this is a little conspicuous. And like, that's fine. Fuck my throat. Let's cough there. I hope there's an army of blackface. Come on, too funny. That would be funny. But that would be like just they would turn that all on Canadians. See how racist Canada really is. You thought that they were all nice people, but in reality, they're a bunch of fucking bigots. And you see, this is proof right here for you guys. Because that's all they did with the whole Trudeau thing was they made it into an issue about how all Canadians are racist and how our culture is racist and blackface is just prominent. And you're like, no, it's not. So like I've never known a person who has worn blackface. I've never worn it. I've never known a person who's worn it. Maybe somebody I know has, but I just wasn't around. I didn't see it, but I don't know anybody. And this guy's 20 years older than me, close to at least. I think he knew a little bit better. But, it's just another example how nobody gives a shit about racism, right? The whole racism thing is just about power. It's about imposing power upon you and saying, oh, you're being a bigot, so you need to be censored. You need to be silenced. You need to be this. But Trudeau can wear blackface 100 million fucking times, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No minorities are not going to vote for him because they know he gives them what they want. He gives them the money. He opens the floodgates. He opens the door. He can say whatever the fuck he wants about black people, about Indians and natives and shit. He's still going to win. It doesn't matter because people don't care about racism. They care about money. They care about resources, and they care about power. And if they can utilize the race card and the racism crybaby tears and cry bully tear tactics against you, then that's what they're going to do because it works. It works against white people who don't want to be racist, who aren't racist, and will try their very best to try to convince you otherwise. And they know this about white people. No other group gives a shit. The Chinese don't care if you call them racist for putting a bunch of Muslims in concentration camps and shit, or harvesting organs from whatever people. They don't give a shit about any of that crap. They don't care. They don't care about racism. They don't care about any of it. It's just a tool for power to use against us. Hey, Slender Chunk, how's it going, buddy? What's the frequency, AJ? Change the name to that on YouTube. Liberalism find a cure. Democracy is dead. I was for Mr. T for Halloween once. You know what I see too? I see all these. I was looking at these costumes on Twitter, and you see like people of color. A black guy, he was wearing like a Achilles or like a Trojan uniform, and I'm fine with that. I'm not going to get offended, but could I do that and wear like a big an Indian headdress? No. Could I wear could I dress up probably like a black tribesman from the desert and have like a spear and all that crap? Probably not. They'd be like, that's culturally appropriating their shit. You shouldn't do that. You can dress up as a cowboy and this or a doctor or something, but no. And I'm like, we should do the the whole racism thing. Why I don't take it seriously from people is because they don't apply it evenly. They don't apply the same standards to everybody, to each individual, to each group. They say, well, you can say whatever you want about white people, but you can't say that about these people. You can replace white people in their countries, but you can't replace Indians and Chinese because they have a ethnic heritage to the land and all this other crap, right? You can dress up as their prominent figures in history and their culture and their cultural garbs. You can dress up as a settler or a whatever for Halloween. Nobody's going to get offended. Nobody's going to get mad. You can dress up as a nun and a sexy nun too, right? With your tits hanging out and just all that crap. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to be mad at you. But, you do anything, you wear a Muslim thing, well, that's insensitive. If I wear a Sikh thing and put a dot on my head, is that going to be racist too? Well, I'm sure it is. But nobody's going to say a fucking thing when you do the exact same thing to everything to do with my culture, right? They're going to complain and moan and bitch about, oh, these white people are playing this person in a movie, and you should use a brown actor or a person of color or a person with a disability to play their character, blah, blah, blah. But then literally every single character nowadays that used to be a white character, that was historically a white character, all of a sudden is black. All of a sudden these figures that were you look at the Avengers movies and stuff like that, right? Like, Thor, and you got all these different characters. There's that one guy that was like holding the gate open, he's black, and that guy was not black. He's historically like this is like European myths, a lot of these things that they're bastardizing, that they're replacing with other people from different cultures. And like, yes, it is a fake story for the movie, but these are based on European myths and culture and their heritage and shit. And you can dress up as a black Trojan or a black this or Thor or Zeus or something like that, right? You got The Rock playing Hercules. This is not some Samoan guy, right? Oh, Hercules never existed. It's like, okay, well, we'll take all your myths and all these things, just replace them with white people, right? See how you feel. Oh, that's racist. That's cultural appropriation. Okay, sure it is. Right? How many new things? The mermaid, Ariel, black. Fucking like the list goes on and on. They do replace historical figures as well too. There was that Hamilton, that whole show that leftist love and shit. What is that? It's all black. The guy wasn't black. Hamilton wasn't black. All the people in the cast weren't minorities and black and all this stuff. So what did the guy do? He's like, I really love the story, so I decided to give it a different spin and change all the race and everything. You're like, oh my God, man. It's like, gee, imagine if a white person really liked a story that or the history of this black group of people and then just completely change all the race. So I mean, we wouldn't hear the end of it. If that happened, like if things like that did happen like 20, 30 years ago, where white people were playing like some brown person or whatever, or some Indian. But we still hear about that today. We still get complaints. We still have people complain about that today. And you're like, okay, nobody's doing it anymore. Nobody's continue to do that shit. But now it's like, what do you call it? It's like revenge. That's what it is. It's just, I think a lot of it is revenge for some people. Well, you did it to us, and now we're just going to do it back to you or something, right? I don't know. But honestly, most minority people, obviously, that's probably not how they think, right? Who is running the media? It's Jews, right? So it's the Jews who are making these movies that have all these anti-white messages, promoting it to minority groups to get them to hate us, right? People just don't inherently hate us and shit, really. Like, there's tribalism amongst people, but the amount of hate that is being put out in society, especially against white Christian males is ridiculous. Look at all the movies in Hollywood. When was the last time you saw a positive depiction of a Christian in a movie? They're usually like some inbred Southern hick that's fucking their cousin, or they're super religious and all this crap. There was a movie where these leftists were getting mad about just recently, where I guess they showed a meme at some conference, and then it showed like a bunch of the media. They had their faces imposed on these people getting shot or something, right? Like, CNN or blah, blah, blah. And this was shown in like a room that practically nobody saw. It wasn't shared on anywhere. There was nobody like vetting these memes that were being distributed. And it was likely a liberal plant who put that in there, to make it look bad, to make conservatives look bad, But this movie itself, I can't remember the name of it, but the movie itself had a guy come in and butcher a bunch of Christians, like hundreds of them, just killing them. And the media exposed themselves because they only got mad about the superimposed part. But then by doing that, they exposed all these people to this movie. So they looked at the movie and they looked at the real scene, and they noticed that this guy was just butchering all these Christians, and all these people had all the media, the people watching the movie or writing reviews had no issue whatsoever with that. Oh, this isn't inciting violence towards Christians. Imagine if you did the same with a group of Muslims, just coming in and shooting all the innocent Muslim people and shit. People would be losing their shit. But it's not the same, and Israel, Jewish people, not all of them, obviously, but have something against Christian white men. And, the Christian white people are the only people standing in the way of globalism and all this shit. Because Christianity itself, compared to any other religion, is the least prejudiced, racist religion on the planet, right? You look at Judaism. They have there's one way you treat the goys and one way you treat regular people, or Jews. You look at Islam. There's one way you treat the kafirs, and then there's one way you treat other Muslims. Same with Hinduism. They got the whole caste system. Oh, you treat these people like shit, but you treat these people better. What is the difference between all these things in Christianity? Christianity is universally applying their ethics to everybody, and they say everybody is a son of God, or is God loves everybody. You're all children of God. You treat everybody the same, every single person. But this is why you see a lot of this in society too. And when we have multiculturalism, and these Muslims only sell to Muslims, and are now in their countries, they charge an extra tax if you're Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or a Hindu or something, right? And for Jewish people themselves, a lot of them will not fuck over another Jew, but they'll fuck over you. No problem about it. You know what? There's something in their list of laws that says that it's okay to help other people as long as it doesn't put your life at risk at all, or another Jew's life at risk. So it's okay to help people as long as it doesn't hurt the Jewish people or put any harm to the Jewish people whatsoever, right? So it's not the same selflessness. That's why this whole Judeo-Christian values is such bullshit. There is no Judeo-Christian values, okay? This was invented in like the 1930s or 40s to get Christians to like Jewish people, or to find them less, shifty or whatever, right? But there is no relation between Christianity and Judaism whatsoever, right? They're different. They're opposed to each other, completely opposed to each other. So it's not the same thing. And speaking of this, I'm going to go on a rant, but I looked up Christmas, and who, like, Jewish people ruin Christmas. I found this one article. Here, let me see if I can find it. Like, Jews secularized Christmas. I think that's what it's called. Jews secularized Christmas. And you notice nowadays in Christmas, I'm Jewish. I shunned Christmas for third Jews. I gotta find it. I gotta find it, but it's something to do with. I'll try to find it at the end of the video and put it in a link in the description. But it was talking about how this one guy was talking about how, Jews, and he was a Jewish writer, and they were talking about how this is a great thing, right? It wasn't some right-wing site writing about this. It was a piece from like the New York Times or some publication from a Jewish writer who was talking about how they came in and secularized Christmas because, jingle bells, and all these gay Christmas songs, those were all introduced by Jewish writers, okay? And they completely took away the religious aspect of Christmas and Christianity, where people don't even think of Jesus or Christmas or Christ, the birth of Christ, during Christmas at all anymore. It's just a secularized Christmas holiday. Imagine if they did that to Ramadan. Imagine if they did that to their fucking holidays. What was that one where I don't know what they do. They have like 15 days of presents because obviously they get all these presents. Fucking, what is it? What is that? Somebody tell me in the chat. The one holiday that they have, right? But it's just ridiculous. Let me check out the chat here. AJ, stop your racist rants. Yeah, but they secularized Christmas, and they introduced jingle bells and all these songs and took away the religious aspect of it to make it into a commercialized holiday that is all about buying shit and giving your money away to corporations. Like they're owning up to that. I'm just saying, like, they're owning up to that one. I'm not making this shit up. You can read the article yourself and find it if you can look it up. Like, look up Jews, Christmas, jingle bells or something. I don't know, because I know it mentioned that in the article, but like the guy who wrote all of those, like the Little Red Reindeer or the Riding Hood or the, whatever, all those Christmas gay songs. But see, I was Catholic. I grew up French Catholic, and the Christmas songs I grew up with were Catholic songs. And, I can't even I'm not going to sing any of them here or anything like that, but like they're about God and Jesus and all these things. They're way more touching to the soul too. When you listen to those songs that were made for Christmas, they impact you. You feel them way more than jingle bells, jingle all the way. Go buy a bunch of fucking shit and waste all your fucking money on garbage shit. Like, don't need to do that. So you're supposed to spend time with your family and but they completely ruined it. But obviously not all Jewish people are like that. A lot of good Jewish people and stuff like that. But, you got to keep your eye on them. You got to keep your eye on them. Like you do, you really do. There's a reason people have been kicked out of 115 different countries already, right? But you got to watch out, because they play this game where I'm white, but no, I'm not really white. Oh, but I'll only write anti-white stuff when I'm writing for the newspaper. I'm going to write, well, white people need to stop doing this, and I'm so racist. Like, what is that one girl? She has a show right now going around the country apologizing for her white privilege. Well, she's a fucking Jew. Okay, she's a Jew. What is her name? That actress that had like somebody piss on her face or something. That she's really anti-Trump. She's blonde, and she has a show. She's going around the country apologizing for being white. And I'm like, you're not white. You're not white. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, maybe if they all come and say, okay, we're white now and we're not Jewish. We're gonna ignore the Jewish shit. And I'll be like, okay. But do you consider yourself white? No, probably not. A lot of people will be like, yeah, I'm white, but they'll say they're white, but then when they're trying to smooze with other groups of people, they'll say, well, I'm not white, I'm Jewish. And white people did horrible things to us. And the Nazis and the bad things help me. Yeah, Chelsea Handler, that's the one, right? Chelsea Handler. And, you got to watch it. You know what the alt-right did good for me at the very least is like, open up my awareness to that shit at the very least. And I don't believe everything that's being said, but you know what I mean, man? Like, there's a lot of shady shit. There's a lot of fucking shady shit that involves a certain group of people. If you look at the amount of people in like the high positions of power in society in every country in the world, especially European country in the world, they have a disproportionate representation in the upper echelons of every single power structure in society. In America, they make up a lot of the Supreme Court. They make up 40% of they're a good chunk of the richest people in America, but they only make up 1% of the population. It's not because they're really smart. Okay. I can say they're smart or whatever, but not that smart. It's a bunch of nepotism that is going on. And that's what it is. It's nepotism. I'm going full Mel Gibson, right? But you look at the schooling system, and they're massively overrepresented, right? Like I'm saying before, people will say they're white and they're not. And they'll use this against us, not Jews, but other people. They'll say, look at all these white people and all the executive positions of this firm, or look at all these white people in this university. And they're like, wait, how many of them are Jews? And then when you subtract the Jews from the white people, then you're like, wait, white people, Europeans are massively underrepresented in this, massively underrepresented in all these different fields. And these people are massively overrepresented in media and business and all this other crap, right? But you can't say that because that's anti-Semitic. And can be subverted by man, changed by man. Okay. Skin them all, hang them all, tree won't be able to, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm not a expatriate. I'm not a relativist, right? So laws and ideologies are created by man and can be subverted by man and changed by man, i.e. Trudeau rule of law, right? Well, that's how he thinks, right? But this is why religion is very important in society. Like, I'm an atheist. I don't even believe in religion, but I understand the importance of religion. You need it because there are a lot of people who can be guided to do very horrible, horrible things without having a moral guidepost and a source of ethics. I can do it. I don't need it, but a lot of people do. And it's difficult to come to rational conclusions of why things are right and wrong. It's not easy. And this is why religion plays a really good role of keeping people from doing horrible things to each other. Because like I said, or not even religion, Christianity, because like I said, Islam, Judaism, they're all discriminatory against other people that are not inside of their group, except for Christianity, right? Did you grow up in the church, AJ? No, I didn't grow up. I grew up Catholic, and I went to church and whatnot, and I listened for a little while, but I eventually, my parents divorced, and I moved to the city, and we stopped going to the church. Me and my mom, when I was younger, so it kind of fell out of it over time. But when you take away the moral structure of society and you just say, oh, anything goes, there is no right, there is no wrong. Thou shalt not kill doesn't exist anymore. Thou shalt not steal and all, lie or show false, whatever it's called, but that's essentially lying. If you believe you can just do these things, then the ends justify the means. And this is why you get these crazy leftists that go around and will try to fucking hurt people, kill people, because they think their goal is so important that it's okay to go and murder, steal, and lie to people to achieve what they want. This is why it's important to have morals and ethics and values, because you can't be like these fucking people. It's not going to work out for them anyways. It always backfires for these people over time. And the reason we have a society today that is wealthy, that has that you're able to put your kid in school at one point anyways and send off to school and not have to worry about him, is because we had shared values and universal values, because we were all Christian and agreed murder is wrong, theft is wrong, stealing is wrong. But if you don't have these values in society, everything is going to break down. And it's very important that if you're going to replace Christianity, then you replace it with something that has a capability of having these types of ethics in society that are essential. Atheists, I have too much death in all the higher powers and names. Well, yeah, I'm an atheist. If everybody hit the like button and share, if you haven't already, it helps the channel grow. Just so you know, I really do appreciate that. I don't want any donations or anything like that, but I do appreciate the sharing and stuff, right? Because I do want more people to see my stuff, right? I'm not gonna lie, like I don't want to be relegated. I love all you guys, but I'd like to grow my channel, and it's been really difficult, to be honest, the past couple of months. It's like I release a video and I lose 5 subs in like an hour or something. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how am I release sometimes, like I did one day, I released like 3 videos a while ago and I lost like 20 subs right away. And I'm like, okay, is this just happening to me, or am I pissing people off with the videos, or people being unsubscribed continuously from my channel? I'm like, I have no idea. Or maybe they just don't like it. That would be good to know too, because like I said, I have alienated a lot of people. I wouldn't say I've alienated. I think they're just pussies and they don't like to hear the truth, right? So they're like, oh, you said some mean thing about a boomer and you're a meanie, fuck you. It's like, go away then. Don't come on my channel. We are one country with 6 different societies and we think this will all be fine. Crazy. I agree. Affordable food and shelter circumstances can lead to a race to the bottom. Moving trading places. Check the playlist of movie dissecting. Read the Finder's doc. But guys, I think this is probably good for tonight. I don't want to keep the stream going on too long because it's already been going on for a little while. But I want to thank everybody for joining me. I want to thank everybody for liking, sharing, interacting with the discussion in the chat. Sorry if I missed some of your messages while I was reading or something. I don't always get the chance to see all of them, but if I do see it, I will address it. I don't usually ignore things unless maybe it's like really stupid or something, but even then I'll usually address it. So what is the Finders? Leftists don't like AJ. Imagine that, right? Well, bye to you too, Max Ho-Fo. I'm a Muslim. I'm French. Je suis français. Je parle français. Mon héritage, c'est français. Although I'm really bad at speaking French nowadays. I've lost a lot of it. But just the beard. It's the beard. I'm not a Muslim. It's a joke on Derek's channel. It's a joke. The only Muslims in here are the ones that are on my fucking couch working for me in my backyard to produce tomatoes so I can have some pasta sauce. But that's the only, Muslims here is the Syrian refugees I have working for me in my fucking, basement here. But once again, guys, thank you all for joining me, and I hope you all have a great day. And oh yeah, je me souviens les plans d'Abraham, us and them. Well, good, cool. Glad you're French, expatriate. We need more French people. Stop all your hating on French people, by the way. I know you're out there. I know you guys are all bigots. And you're like, make fun of us behind our backs. But, I see it. I see it all the time. But I'm never going to go if I keep this up. All right, guys. Well, hope you have a wonderful day. Take it easy. Peace.